I'm pretty much convinced at this point that publisher New Blood Interactive can't make a bad game. While its first two major FPS titles set the benchmark for retro boomer shooters, its games that followed have all been exceptionally high quality. When you see the New Blood logo, it practically embodies the same prestige that the old school Nintendo seal of quality did. New Blood really is that good. Fallen Aces has been teased for a few years now and is the work of Trey Powell, Jason Bond, and their team of meticulous experts. The original idea was touted as Cel-Shaded Condemned, but quickly morphed into something much more. Part ImSim, part stealth game, part full-blown action title, Fallen Aces debuts its first episode with not only a healthy amount of polish, but a ton of promise for things to come in the future. There are a few balancing issues with the final product, but for the going rate of $13, it's an incredibly safe buy. New Blood is yet to fail in its post-launch support of previous games, and with 2 more episodes coming, Fallen Aces is already a steal. Let's dig deeper into this noir-themed caper and see what makes it as tantalizing as some freshly served gabagool. Fallen Aces kicks off with an incredibly stylish cutscene that accurately captures the tone of noir and pulp crime serials. You play the role of Michael Thane, a gruff PI who wakes up to some goons kicking his door in. After beating the piss out of them, he heads out to his friend Pete's house, but soon learns that Pete has been knocked off. Before he can compose himself, Michael is captured and tortured when an old menace from his past reappears. Just when things are looking at their worst, a shadowy figure saves Michael and asks him for assistance. There's a mystery going on in this town that will push Michael to his limits, not to mention reawaken some fallen heroes from the past. My summary sounds a bit more complicated than Fallen Aces really is, as the game is fairly straightforward when it comes to its storytelling. Everything is displayed in graphic novel panels, and spoken dialogue doesn't dominate your playtime. Michael will talk to the mysterious figure, who goes by the name of Nightwave, while you're progressing through levels. Everything you need to know is given to you exactly when you need it. Remove the plot entirely, however, and Fallen Aces would still be a really solid game. The first level of this 5-chapter episode doesn't reveal its full hand, but you have multiple routes through levels to approach situations as you please. You can go in head first and punch everyone to death, or sneak your way around locales to find alternate, stealthier routes. The environments are laid out realistically, and navigation is intuitive. You can even ignore the HUD and still figure out where the main mission lies, as the level design funnels your movement well. It's when you get to the second level that Fallen Aces knocks it out of the park. The visual design was already on point from the drop, but the breadth and consistency to each level is a pure joy. Despite being part of a self-contained episode, each level feels like its own distinct chapter. The shipping yard is appropriately littered with cargo docks, cranes, boats, a full dock, and storage facilities. A huge chunk of that level is entirely optional as well. I'm undecided on which level is my favorite, but I'm leaning towards the third. Set in a city block that opens up to a garage with a junkyard, the sheer number of options given to the player for exploration and traversal is almost paralyzing. While you will need to get your hands dirty and knock a few goons out, you can make it to the main objective at the garage without firing a gun or swinging a bat. I know this likely won't sound as impressive being written out, but seeing AC units hanging out of windows and deciding to climb them, then walk across some wires, is the type of deductive reasoning and practical action I love in video games. The combat is also fun, if a bit limited. Your inventory only consists of 3 slots, though you can holster anything to use your fists and even pick up heavier objects to throw as distractions or as a makeshift offensive attack. Melee works similarly to Condemned in that you can buffer an attack by holding fire and moving in a specific direction. You also have a kick that can stun enemies or knock them down, and you'll be able to follow up that action with an instant death stomp. Blocking will see you negate most damage, though obviously using your fists to try and catch bullets won't be an effective strategy. Guns work as you would expect. You will need to find ammo and keep it in your inventory to reload, but you otherwise point and shoot. Standing still or crouching will increase your accuracy, and you can only keep a limited number of firearms on you at any time. The arsenal so far is fun, and I'm particularly fond of the nail gun. A sniper rifle feels great, jibbing enemies with a shotgun is incredible as well, and it's also convenient that you can throw weapons right at enemies to stun them. The only real issue I have with Fallen Aces currently is that the game is exceptionally easy. I'm not saying that to brag about my skill, but combat never becomes too overwhelming. The odds might be stacked against you on paper. A 1-on-15 fight should be a death sentence, for instance, but the AI isn't aggressive enough to capitalize on any advantageous situations it lands in. As such, you really can run into every scenario swinging your fists like an idiot and come out on top. A stamina meter attempts to balance this, but it's fairly easy to back up and let your energy refill before going in again. I only bring this up as the stealthy approach doesn't have any real benefit. It's certainly fun to find a hidden vent or stack some barrels to jump a fence, but with no upside other than being different, getting spotted doesn't run much risk. This also applies to using lethal force or not, as the only mission to nudge you towards incapacitating foes then doesn't penalize you if you kill some goons. I like not having forced stealth objectives or ridiculous instant fail states, but increasing the risk for getting into fisticuffs would benefit Fallen Aces. The gadgets you get in this first episode are not quite fleshed out either. You start with a lighter that is used to lighten up dark rooms, and it also removes your ability to hide. That makes perfect sense, and is a great risk-reward mechanic. The only other gadget you get, though, is Nightwave support on the second level. You can use him to target foes and snipe them from afar. It's incredibly useful, but it doesn't come up again. A third slot goes completely unused, though obviously something is planned for the future. These issues are simply nitpicking, however. I wouldn't say that Fallen Aces being easy or not having enough gadgets ruins the experience. It just highlights that this is still only the first episode of a planned 3-episode game. New Blood Interactive has effectively utilized the early access moniker on Steam to greatly improve its games before launch. There's no reason to assume that Fallen Aces will stagnate. Since I have to talk about every aspect, good or bad, in a review, those would be the areas I would highlight as room to improve. When you reach the conclusion of this first episode, you'll likely be craving more. The story hook is intriguing, and the gameplay on offer gives you a great taste of what's to come. The visual design is impeccable, the vibes are through the roof, and the game feel is solid. I have every reason to believe this will be another excellent game from New Blood, so I would easily recommend anyone interested buy Fallen Aces. For the price of a roll of Gabagool, it's definitely worth it.